Just a few technical reminding notes before we get started. If you experience any issues with your audio or video during the conference, just refresh your browser and that should take care of everything. If you have any questions for our speakers or panel members, please do feel free to post your questions on the video wall, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. We will share with our speaker at the end of the session, and they will reply to you through the video wall or through the email afterwards. If you'd like to connect with our speakers, please move to the home lobby page. You can find the speaker by typing their names under Networking tab on the right-hand corner of your screen. We welcome all of our audience to interact with each other through our networking features. And also, please feel free to tag us on our social media handles with the hashtag AimDigital.
Hi, everyone. My name is Susie Zimmerman. I am the Director of International Public Affairs for UPS. Welcome back for our third session of the SheTrades MENA event at the AIM Digital Conference, focused on the new normal for women, dynamic leaders of business. In this session, we will focus on the topic of responsible leadership. When it comes to women growing, succeeding in the business world today, much of the focus by consumers is on how a company engages with its environment and seeks to drive positive impact in the community it serves every day. We have a great group of panelists today to speak on this topic. And of course, as we go through this discussion, I would like to remind the audience that they can engage with us on social media to share their thoughts and reactions to the speakers' perspectives. But do be sure to use the hashtags of AIM Digital, hashtag SheTrades MENA, MENA, and please tag UPS, Dubai Exports, and AIM. So with that, I would like to welcome our panelists today. We have Sabari Raja, who's based in Texas in the United States. Catherine Fréchette, who's based in Montreal, Canada. Maureen Abouaya, who's based in Lagos, Nigeria. Samarna Singh, who's based in Dubai, UAE, but with her business in Singapore. And Nadine Halabi, who's also based in Dubai, UAE. So let's get started. I would like to first ask our panelists to do a round of introductory comments. I would love for them to introduce themselves to you and tell their stories, how they became an entrepreneur, woman in business, how they got to where they are today, and some of the challenges or lessons learned that they've encountered in that journey. So let's first, I'd like to start with Nadine Halabi. Over to you.
Hi, thank you, Susan, and thank you, ladies. It's a pleasure to be joining the panel with all of you. I am a Lebanese who was born and raised here in the UAE. It's pretty much my home. In terms of my educational background, I have a history in English literature. I did not study anything that has to do with business, but after being 6 years into the educational industry, I decided that I wanted more for myself, and I wanted to venture into the world of business development and marketing and face-to-face interaction with people. And so I joined Microsoft in Bahrain when I lived there for a very brief 5 years. And I managed to attend a lot of their training programs. And this is where I developed all the administrative and the business development and the marketing skills later on. I left Bahrain after those 5 years and came to Dubai, where I landed a job with the Dubai Businesswomen Council. We are part and parcel of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and what we do is we are a platform that supports the businesswomen community. I saw that there was a little bit of a common denominator between my teaching days and my job at the Dubai Businesswomen Council, simply because I felt that we were a platform that educated a lot of businesswomen on ongoing skill development. So there's a lot of educational factor in what we do on a daily basis. And at the same time, it has something that I love so much, which is connecting with people and getting in touch with like-minded women, hearing about their phenomenal stories of success, as well as being able to connect mentors with mentees per se through the platform of the council. One thing that we worked so hard since the establishment of the council is we traveled around the world trying to erase the false stereotypes that people around the world had about the business women here in this part of the world. And so by traveling and meeting counterparts all around the world and introducing them to successful Emirati businesswomen, we were able to slowly but surely, set the image right, let them really know what the working community is like here in the UAE, what the businesswomen of the UAE are all about. And so it's a little bit of women empowerment along with skill development and connecting like-minded people together and creating opportunities. So many lessons I've learned, so many challenges along the way. Of course, challenges are ongoing, but a few lessons that I've learned after being with the council since 2011 is we always preach each other that, women should support one another. Women in the business world should connect with each other more. And that is something that we do not do enough. And so over the last couple of years at the council, we've been working hard on trying to advocate that message to everyone, bringing the women together, allowing them to work together, because together I feel that we produce so much more. And now with the current times of COVID, I think it's been proven that collaborations, partnerships, working together is key. And so erasing the false misconceptions is something that we're tirelessly doing, working on gender parity and not gender equality, because we do need the other 50% of society. And of course, putting women to work together are basically three of the most important key messages or key missions of the Dubai Business Council, which I'm very proud to be a part of.
Okay, thanks so much, Nadine. I'd like to now turn to Samarna Singh to introduce yourself and talk about your journey.
Thank you so much, Susan, firstly, for the opportunity. I'd also like to thank the Ministry of Economy, UPS, and Dubai Exports to join this panel with such well-accomplished women business entrepreneurs. I'd just like to quickly introduce myself. My name is Samarna Singh. I'm a youth social entrepreneur, probably the youngest on this panel, only 23 years old, and really excited to be a part of this amazing discussion. Over the past 3 years, I've been accelerating the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2030 agenda. And I feel very blessed to have been given the opportunity to take a leadership role at Kokaveda, where we're basically changing lives and livelihoods of coconut farmers and women communities who live below $1.90 a day. I've been involved in their journey really since 2017, and they're a social enterprise that manufactures handmade coconut-based products. And really focusing on building this all-women team that we have in place as well. Similarly, out of Singapore, I'm taking a leadership role to drive the e-commerce business model out of there to reach to 25 countries by 2025, leveraging on digital technology. And I think that the COVID-19 has given us all an opportunity to leverage on this as well. In Singapore, we're also part of the semi-government supported social enterprise platform called Raise. And in the future, we're also looking at utilizing blockchain, which I'll be sharing with you in the panel on how we're going to be tracking our impact, and of course, mobile applications. With regard to, a little bit on myself and what I feel and my thoughts and views moving forward, I think to build a sustainable and scalable business model, it is tough, especially in the environment that we're in, because we're all focusing on profit. But at the same time, we have a commitment at the end of the day to balance people with planet and the overall arching theme of purpose of a business. Similarly, we're in a world where everything is measured by dollars and cents. There's only recent attention that is being paid to diversity, inclusion, sustainable development. And the fact remains that we are in a world of rising inequalities, which has only got worse due to the pandemic. Similar to what Nadine mentioned in her introduction of the presentation, I also believe that collaboration is the key. It has been our formula for business. And through my experience and exposure, also as a United Nations Youth Ambassador, and having the opportunity to represent the UAE youth delegation along with the ministries over here. I'm very, very grateful to have the opportunity to be present at the COP25, where we saw this deadlock. And similarly, it really wasn't a success because of this issues that individuals are facing. And to finally summarize that, in order to make a difference, we need positive action today, which translates to measurable impact. And this is something I would love to discuss with all these amazing ladies and yourself in the discussion. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Samarna. I'll definitely return to some of those points. I'd like to turn now over to Maureen Oboea to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Susan, for having such a wonderful panel of super women. Thank you to UPS, Dubai Exports, SheTrades, MENA, and the Ministry of the Economy for putting this together. My name is Maureen Oboea. I'm the creative director and founder of Morino Designs Limited, which is a contemporary leather design and manufacturing brand out of Africa to the world, inspired by artistic innovation and ethnic designs for the sassy, fashionable, and innovative individual. At Morino, we share our stories. We love to share our stories with the world, stories of African creativity, stories of African authenticity, story of the beauty and the traditions we share from this side of the world to the global platform. My entrepreneurship journey started after a 2-year stint of being a pharmacist, because that is what I studied in university. But throughout my growing up years, I had always kind of fused science and arts together, because I come from family of creatives, and I'd always wanted and loved the arts. So after a 2-year stint practicing as a pharmacist, I thought, this is the time to pursue my dreams. This is the time to not work for a day, enjoy what I really like to do. And I started a gift company with my husband, but shortly after that, it blossomed. And then we started an art gallery, promoting and supporting artists and handcrafters out of several countries in Africa. That opened up so many opportunities, and we were privileged sometime in 1994 to be supported and sponsored to go for our first international trade fair in Kenya. Shortly after that, it was Ivory Coast, and after that, it was Senegal, then Sharjah in the United Arab Emirates, then the US, and fast track to 2010, I had the opportunity of being sponsored at a Vital Voices ExxonMobil training for women in Ghana for women leaders in handcrafts. There I had my aha moments, because I saw women from all over Africa doing their own thing, creating their own designs. And I felt this is the time for me to come out and express myself in my own line of creativity. And I thought leather would be a good platform. And I came back home, designed a few handbags, and that is how the Morino brand started. I've learned a lot on the way. There have been so many challenges in this part of the world, challenges with our infrastructure. When I started, I wasn't too sure of where I was heading. I needed to do a lot of self-development. I needed to understand more what collaboration meant, what connections meant. So I did learn a few hard lessons, but then again, it's all part of the experience, and here we are today. So it's wonderful that we have come to a point where we're talking about sustainability actively, even in my business and in my brand.
Thank you, Maureen. I love that. Speaking of art and creativity, I'll now turn it over to Catherine Fréchette to talk about your journey.
Hi, my name is Catherine Fréchette. I am located in 1 hour from Montreal. I am the co-owner of Pure Béton. It's a company manufacturing of end cast concrete sinks. We are located in Quebec, Canada. My first language is not English, so I apologize for my French accent and for any error that I can make this morning for us today, not for you. I had my mother as an entrepreneur model. She is a painter, and she was sewing for clients that come to our house since I was young. In fact, I always been on my own professionally. After I studied graphic design, I worked as a freelance for 2 years. And then I started my own company with a partner. So I had my company in design graphic for 20 years. In 2013, after I had my children, I felt the need to have some more challenges in my life. So I decided to join my husband, who is the founder of the company. He started Pure Béton in 2009. So he started the company 3 years before. And I thought I was the good person to join in, because he was talking to me about concrete days and night. So it was quite a new field for me, but I thought I knew the concrete because he was talking to me so much about it. So I started to work with him, and I did take care of every part of the company except the production. So I am the person who answer the phone and doing some quotation and take care of their website and meeting with the clients, with partners. And so this is a lot of work and challenges, but I feel alive and I feel really, really happy with that. And I don't ask myself every morning, why do I go work? I know that I have so much to do. So I wanted to thank you all for the opportunity. And yes, this is it.
Hey, thanks so much, Kathleen, and your accent is perfect. So thanks for telling us about your spirit and that interesting partnership that you have on such an innovative product. Certainly come back to that. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce or have Sabari Raja introduce yourself and tell us about your story.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks again. It's a privilege to be part of this panel. This is officially my first International Women panel, so thank you for that. I'm Sabari Raja. I'm co-founder and CEO of Nepris. We are an education technology company helping connect industry professionals with students, mainly to bridge that gap by bringing real-world relevance to learning. And in the process, actually bring career exposure to students. And we are a for-profit technology company, but with a social impact mission. So we started the company mainly to really bring equity of access to students, especially in rural areas and girls and underserved communities. Today, we are primarily focused on connecting students in the US with industry professionals around the world. We do have plans of launching in the Middle East, in India, and a couple of other countries in the coming years. But so far, we have connected over 540,000 students with industry professionals from around the world, bringing them exposure that they did not have before. So my background has always been in education technology, 20 plus years in the edtech field. Started with working for large companies, but I've always had this passion to actually start something that had real impact. And I co-founded Nepris 7 years back with my co-founder Binu Tangri. But this was very much tied to my childhood and my passion and my experiences. My whole entrepreneurship journey started with trying to solve a problem that I faced as a child, that many kids even today, decades later in the US face. So I grew up on a coconut farm in South India. So Simarna, when you talked about coconut farms and coconut-based products, I'm like, I can so envision what that actually looks like. So thank you for what you do. So I grew up on a coconut farm in South India, very rural, small place. I mean, even today, my parents live there, and as far as your eyes can see, it's all coconut trees. And I mean, my parents did not have college degrees, but they were very, very particular that we got a good education. So at the age of 5, I went to boarding school because that's the only way we could ensure that I got a good education. So to me, exposure was non-existent. You know, my inherited network, the network that I was born into, was very, very small. So when we founded Nepris, you know, today I have 2 kids, one in middle school, one in high school, and they live in a very different world compared to how I grew up, right? I mean, they live in Austin, Texas, to 2 parents in technology. You would assume that they have much more exposure. They do, but still many decades later and worlds apart, they still have the same issue that they don't know what is really out there. They don't know what they learn in the classroom actually matters when it comes to college and career. So it really, all of this came through because I wanted to solve this problem of connecting students to real world opportunities. And it's very tied to how I grew up and what my issues were. So this whole, how do we really create social capital for students, and not just when they come to college? That's too late. You know, how do we do this even at an early age of elementary school? That's really what we are focused on. As a woman entrepreneur, I mean, there are lots of challenges as an entrepreneur, period. As a woman entrepreneur, there's many challenges, but if I have to pick one to share with you all today, it's the whole fundraising process. You know, we are a technology company, and if you all know the details, the facts, you know, the data, less than 2.2% of women-founded companies have raised venture capital money. So with this kind of data in front of you, it's not very encouraging for us to go pitch, right? So I'm excited to share that we actually closed our Series A funding in early March, supported by some of the large tech investors. More than investors, it's actually impact investors. 70% of our investors are impact investors. So we are equally focused on building a for-profit company so we can continue to innovate, but we're equally responsible for reporting on our impact metrics as well. So I'm excited to be here to share more about that and more of the challenges and best practices that I have encountered. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much, Sabari. I'd like to, many of you have already touched on this a little bit, but I'd like to dig deeper into the theme of our session, which is responsible leadership in entrepreneurship. So I'd like to go around the table again and ask you just how you think about, how you incorporate, or how you encourage these, you know, responsible business practices or corporate social responsibility or sustainable operations, whatever the case may be, in what you do day to day. How do you ensure you're having an impact? Any success stories you'd love to share with us? We'd love to hear about it. So I'm going to switch it up and do reverse order just to keep you on your toes. So Sabari, back to you if you want to elaborate on the responsible leadership piece.
Absolutely. Like I think I touched upon it a little bit in my introduction. The whole reason You know, I co-founded this company was really to build a successful technology solution, but at the same time give equal importance to the social impact mission. So for us at NEPRIS, we are focused on bringing real world relevance and career exposure to students, but we are primarily focused on underserved students, especially in the US, Hispanic, African-American students coming from lower socioeconomic communities, girls who have very limited knowledge of what STEM careers look like, and then mainly also rural communities. Even in the US, there is plenty of small rural communities where students really don't know what that real world looks like. And how we actually incorporate these practices, it's not just paying lip service to it. Like all 70% of our investors are impact investors. You know, our board consists of all impact investors, which means we are equally responsible for reporting on financial metrics as well as impact metrics. I'll just give you one example of what important impact metric that we capture on a daily basis that's built into the product is in the US, if you're not familiar, in the US, all of the public school districts, that's who our primary target audience is, all of the public school districts have demographic data and also students that are on free and reduced lunch, meaning all the students that are on free and reduced lunch are coming from lower socioeconomic families that they have to qualify for free and reduced lunch. So they get their breakfast, lunch for free at school. So this is for us, when we work with school districts, we are continuously capturing this demographic data. First of all, you know, how many Hispanic students, how many African-American students, how many girls, how many students are coming from rural areas. But the most important metric of FRL, which is free and reduced lunch, is to date, as of last year, 62% of our total students that we have reached are on free and reduced lunch, meaning coming from lower socioeconomic communities. So that is an important metric that we capture, because we are a two-sided platform. On one side, we are working with employers and industry and helping them connect with students. So on that side, mainly we are working with companies and their corporate social responsibility teams. So we are helping companies and giving them a platform to really engage their employees within their communities. So we are sort of straddling, think of us like a Match.com. We are in between, trying to connect the givers and the takers and making sure that the givers are reaching the takers that are actually most in need. So there are lots of other impact metrics we capture, but the free and reduced lunch is the main metric that gives us insight into, are we really reaching our goals? So.
Great, thanks, Sabari. I think it'd be interesting to hear maybe later on in the panel how COVID has impacted, especially these students that rely on the free and reduced lunches. So let's go back to Catherine. If you could tell us a little bit about how you think about sustainability in your unique product line.
Yes, of course. Well, we are specialized, like I was telling you, in cast concrete things. We have been working with concrete since 10 years, and we here in Quebec, we work with architects and designers, and we were working on high-end project residential. So I maybe I can share you some project. Here, all good? Yes. So like I was telling you, we were working on a high-end project for 10 years. So we houses with designers, and we were doing some custom work for 10 years. And for a kind of project and product that we made, custom work is really, really hard on equipment and on time and on for people that work with that. And with the last months that have been passed, we have decided to make a project different for our business. So we decided to open the market to a larger market by selling sinks, bathroom sinks, element. So we have decided not doing a custom work anymore. So we have decided to present some things that can be shipped all around the world. So we have several models, and all the designs and all the manufacture are done in our our workshop. And so this is a new kind of business model we are growing. It's like a little bit like starting over again. And so this is what the COVID have done to us, because we cannot work with custom project anymore, going in houses and working on place. So we are kind of happy with that. And so this is that we think it's something that can be last for a long time as a business. And we can work with people and professional from Canada or from outside of the country. And that is the thing that is really interesting. Yes.
Great, thank you. It sounds like the change that you have made as a result of COVID has been a silver lining, and that you can become more scalable with this new model.
Yes.
For the market.
Yes,
Great.
of course. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maureen, let's go back to you to talk about the impact that you have on the community, your customers, etc. Oh, you're still on mute.
One of the things that we're passionate about in Maureen O is the inclusion of women, girls and women in our production process, and recognizing the talents, the potential, the experiences that women have that we can enhance and we can promote to. So we're very passionate about that, and because of that, we have designed a course, a training course for youth and women especially, incorporating traditional techniques of handbag making, the Maureen O way. But we also do a lot of training for both our in-house and outsourced artisans, as well as artisans in the community. It's like a mentorship where we communicate to them strong values of ethics, of integrity, of excellence in handcrafting. One of the challenges we face in this side of the world sometimes is the lack of global standards and finishing in the product quality. It's a bit of an arduous task, but that is what we have taken up in Maureen O to enhance and adding also global quality standards for the hides and skin, raw materials, suppliers, all our stakeholders. We try and pass that education, that training, that enhancement of the core values of excellence, the core values of integrity, customer satisfaction, and general well-being of whatever they're doing it right. That way, we have found out that it has increased the acceptance of the products that we make. And that kind of, it goes down the chain, because once these women and once these youth are being empowered economically as a reason of their authentic art and their durable and well done products that they're making, it impacts their well-being, it impacts their economic stability. And we have found out that creating communities, for example, a recent collaboration we did with women in a community who hand weave, they handloom textile fabric that we are including in some of our leather products, has opened them up to renewed vigor, renewed strength, because this is a craft that seems to be dying with the current women, and they haven't been able to pass it on to their children or to younger ones. But we recognize that as a result of that collaboration, they have become renewed. They've created a system where they're inviting other younger women to learn this handloom textile weaving, because a market has been created for them. We engage our stakeholders, our suppliers, our shareholders, and everyone around our community about our interests and our commitment to sustainability, to the environment, to our communities, and to providing an economic environment where their productivity and their craft is enhanced.
Karen, thank you so much. I think it's so important to hear about businesses like all of yours who have a wider impact than just growing your product line or reaching more consumers. That's great. Samarna, back to you. I know you work directly in this space, but I wonder if you could kind of dig deeper on what you've already talked to us about.
Sure, absolutely. So before I answer the question, I'm just going to explain the process a little bit. I hope that's all right. So to start off with, of course, at Cocoveda, our fundamentals are really driven by ethics. We identified the needs back in 2016 to address the gap in the market for health and well-being products. And so we developed this range of 100+ unique handmade products, which are also plant-based, combining the benefits of the virgin coconut oil and also other plant-based ingredients. So the virgin coconut oil is naturally antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, and anti-inflammatory. And just to share a little bit of knowledge with you as well, there are actual trials going on COVID-19 at this point in time with the virgin coconut oil, just because of the properties that it has. We also recognize that COVID-19 has caused a shift in consumers' mindsets, especially for health and well-being. For instance, there is now more attention being paid to SDG 3, where you speak about physical health, mental health, and social well-being on a whole. And similarly, each of the products that we've created serve a lifestyle concern, such as immunity, metabolism, skin health, and of course, lifestyle wellness, aches, and hormonal discomforts. So as a startup, just to explain the process a little bit in more depth, we work with pharma cooperatives, so we do not own a farm. We get the raw produce from them, so the virgin coconut oil and the coconut sap sugar. And this on its own gives us the opportunity to uplift the livelihoods of these pharma cooperatives. We then, have embedded our women operations team, taught them about sustainability and embedded these values within them when they've made these products, and utilize the Japanese Kaizen philosophy. Similarly, we are now in compliance with the best international standards and certifications. It's consumer products, so you have to be in compliance with it, of course, be it in the food, personal care, or wellness industries. And now to speak a little bit about impact, which I shared with you in the beginning. We're using blockchain across the supply chain to provide real-time traceability, all the way from the farm till the end consumer. So the first stage that we're going to do is utilize it in a logistics standpoint at each border of shipping. So utilizing our Singapore operations as a cross-border e-commerce to start off with. We then would like to give each of our women digital identities So create this inclusive, model that we have in place and really showcase that it is handcrafted by women all the way from, refiltration to even doing the labels and packaging to shipping it out to the consumer. And finally, linking it back to the farm and giving them identities as well. So our business model overall is aligned to 12 out of 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals. And we use the Singapore ecosystem really to track our digital assets and intellectual property. As I've shared with you, we've launched our new e-commerce website out of Singapore that is shipping to 9 international markets already. We should be also launching our new global platform to really widen this impact. As we scale in our volume, we hope to create more employment opportunities. So not just for the farmers and the women, but also for youth out of Singapore who will be supporting us. And I think as our generation, a lot of us, like Sabari mentioned earlier, a lot of us are learning things in education, but unable to apply it to the real world. And so we need this practical exposure to support our learnings. We're looking at employing about 100 plus women and 200 farmer cooperatives by 2025. And since we're focusing on this technology-driven ecosystem, we want to share this impact that we're making to other coconut producing countries. So we recently signed an agreement in Ghana, where we're employing the Ghanaian women over there to do, the packaging as well. We teach them the know-hows, we teach them on sustainability, and create this impact for them and contribute towards the growth of the coconut economy.
Fantastic. Thanks, Samarna. Nadine, I'm glad to wrap up this round of questions with you. I think you have such a unique perspective in how you work with all of these different women in business. Please share your perspective on sort of sustainability, CSR, community engagement, what you've seen across the Dubai Women in Business Council.
So at the Dubai Business Women Council, as I said earlier, we are a platform that supports the businesswomen community of the UAE and most particularly the women of Dubai. What we usually do, what basically the mission or the main activities of the council is to provide the members of the council with ongoing seminars, workshops, and initiatives that aim at developing their skills and aim at making them a better version of themselves when it comes to the business side of things. In addition to that, we have initiatives that we are very, very passionate about, and those include our Entrepreneurial Academy, which every year we put together a series of modules that are pretty much the A to Z of setting up or scaling up a business. So it's like joining an academy, but only it's free of charge for the members of the council. And it is conducted by a group of industry experts who fall under the category of our strategic partners. So we work with a lot of NGOs, we work with a lot of government entities, private multinational companies as well. And it's amazing to see that whenever we reach out for an initiative and we ask people to come on board and support it as a nonprofit organization, we get some immense response from men and women who want to add value and give back to the business community. So the Entrepreneurial Academy is something that we're very passionate about. And another thing that we're very passionate about is the mentorship program. So far we've launched 2 cycles. They've been very, very successful. And we always look within our network. So the mentors are basically from our partners who sign up. And of course, they go through a series of applications so that we make sure that we pair the mentors with the right mentees. The mentees are, of course, members of the Dubai Business Women Council. And finally, another thing or another initiative that we're very proud of and that we're considered active is the initiative on gender parity. Now, we do not come up with any policies because we are not a legal entity who is authorized to come up with policies. But what we do is before COVID-19, we used to host annual best practices forums where we invited men and women in top senior positions in the private and the government sector to come and share their experiences about what they are doing to increase more women in the management, to put women on boards, and to basically in general increase women in their workforces. And so the audience usually is men and women, so are the panelists. And what we do is we try to create that kind of awareness and encouragement so that people can pick out things that they can actually implement within their organizations to try to somehow create a balance for a better purpose in the working industry. Now, when COVID-19 struck us, it forced everybody to change the way they do business. Many business strategies have been shuffled around, business models have been reevaluated, and us as a business council that has over 700 members on board from 81 nationalities, most of them living here in the UAE, and almost 80 or close to 85% of our members occupy very senior decision-making positions. We were flooded with a lot of concerns at the beginning because these women were worried. They were worried about the future of their jobs. They were worried about not being able to motivate their teams. And so we stuck to our core value, which is providing support. And that's exactly what we continued on doing. We kept providing support. We conducted over 200 webinars from March up until today. We kept our community engaged. All our key messaging was circled around the point of, don't worry about this. We'll try to reinvent yourselves, try to revisit the models, try to connect with other people, use our platform to do that. We try to connect them with women or businessmen who could help them with their business models and their business plans. We were working around the clock to make sure that these women stayed motivated. These women were not giving up on their businesses, because all the entrepreneurs who worked so hard on building their dream, they were somehow discouraged during COVID because nobody knew what to expect. And as many of the ladies touched upon, this issue of this mental uncertainty, it weighs heavily on our mental being and on our mental wellness as well. So we needed to navigate all these different areas. And so we kept telling everybody that, at the end of the day, ladies, leadership is the language of inclusivity. You need to include your team, even if the business is not doing so well. Speak to your team about it. Reach out to them and tell them, I want you to come on board. I want you to put your thinking hats on. Help me out here. Let's all work together to see how we can save the business. Let's try to see how we can navigate this new normal, as they call it, and try to save what we're doing for your sake and for ours. So it's amazing to see the good leaders that really shone during that period. The amazing businesswomen who, honestly, in my opinion, they were phenomenal warriors because they didn't give up. Until this day, they have not given up simply because they didn't choose to. So I feel that in terms of retaining those businesses and keeping things sustainable or keeping sustainable operations in business, I felt like a lot of the leaders or the women leaders within our council were more of the enabler type, obviously, and not enabling type. They really did help and support the team. I mean, it started internally from my team as well. I know that when I used to have those Microsoft Teams calls with them every single week, I used to look at their faces on the screens and feel there was a lot of worry. They didn't know what was expected. They didn't know if we were going to sustain, if we were going to stay, or if they still had their jobs. But, I engaged them. It was always a group work. It was always the element of the team. And so many of the women that we know who are also part of the council did exactly just that. And we're continuing to do that, and we're continuing to evolve and to build on that particular aspect.
That's great, Nadine. Thank you. I'm glad you, I'm glad you said the buzzword of the day, the new normal. I think with the trainings and webinars that UPS is also doing through our Women Exporters program, it's been our main message is, this is new, it's a new environment, but agility and just kind of pushing through and maybe having to change up a little bit what you're doing, as Catherine was describing, sort of navigating what the changes are in the supply chain or your customer preferences, having to go online. I think that mental agility is so important. I'm going to throw a question back at you, Nadine, and I encourage the other panelists to jump in with your own perspectives afterwards. I'm curious because I'm not an entrepreneur. I've never started a business, so I don't know really the process from a personal perspective. But when you are building a business, or in the businesses that you see among your members at the Dubai Businesswomen's Council, do you start with building the business and then incorporate the social impact and sustainability after, once you have the cash flow or the sort of regular customers and suppliers? Or do you see a lot of companies incorporating that from the very beginning, recognizing that it's an important aspect of business in the current environment?
I mean, it depends. We have so many entrepreneurs who are part of the council, and many of them do things very differently from each other. But in my personal opinion, from what I've seen, based on the many businesses that we help bring to life through our entrepreneurship academies and our initiatives, and many of the competitions that we've done in collaboration with other companies, it's very, very important that you consider it a primary factor, because it's, your purpose and your actions, they need to go together, and they should be equally grounded in the financial and the environmental, as well as the social concerns of, if we're talking about a company. Because in itself, the road to sustainability in any business, it's not easy. And with now moving into completely uncharted waters, as they say, trying to navigate this new norm that has been just thrown upon us, it's very, very scary, and it's not easy. The only constant that's happening at the moment is this continuous change that's taking place. It's getting to know the market outside, it's changing your business plan over and over again as you move along to see what best fits, because at the end of the day, you also want to generate profit. You want to start making money, and it is very, very, very challenging. I've realized that during COVID-19, those who embraced the change and acted fast are the ones who were able to sustain the most. And I'm sure many of the ladies agree with me, especially those who are entrepreneurs themselves. Embrace the change, act fast, because if you don't, you're going to be extinct. You're going to be obsolete. Somebody else is going to take your place. That's one thing. Another thing is, we've noticed that your strategy, it needs to, I don't want to say change, but it needs to be adaptable as you move along as well, because at this time, there is no clear or perfect strategy. You need to keep changing it as you move along. That helps create some kind of a sustainability. It helps keeps the business afloat. The business purpose at the end of the day is to drive value to your customers. You need to create value at the top end, using your existing resources. You need to invest in your resources. You have to focus on growth, and growing is never comfortable, especially at these times. It's super uncomfortable at the moment. You need to stay innovative. You need to be one step ahead always, and completely alert with the job market, the latest trends, what people are doing, listening to other success stories, and basically just filtering out the best parts of them all and see what you can adapt within your business. It's been quite a challenge and quite an interesting journey to many of the women in our council as well. But, do not despair, because out of all this craziness that's happening around us, there are still some beautiful success stories that have taken place, as I'm sure many of us can relate as well.
Okay, thank you, Nadine. I wonder if any of our other panelists want to react to that or jump in, either on the question of starting with building the business, then incorporating the social impact piece, or about the agility that you've had to deal with in the COVID environment. Throwing it out there to our panelists.
Yes, Yeah, a couple of things Nadine said that I instantly connected with, which was our experience when COVID set in. One of the things I called our team and we had a strategy session, and we just said to ourselves, there are two ways you can respond to the situation. Either you look at the positives or you look at the negatives. And we decided part of our strategy was to look at the positives. There were so many opportunities out there. One of the opportunities was the UPS series that we had, the SheTrades UPS series that we had. You know, we looked at the digital economy, we looked at so many things, and it helped our agility, which I think, you know, it's very important for every entrepreneur, that agility, that resilience, that can-do spirit, and that comeback spirit. And that is what helped us a lot in our business and in our community.
Yeah, I'm happy to comment on that as well. I mean, for us this year was, you know, we started off this year with a big bang, closing our Series A. This was supposed to be the big growth year. And then we closed the funding early March, and then everybody knows what happened mid-March. And things started, you know, going down post-COVID. Schools didn't know how to react. Kids who came to spring break never went back to school to finish the school year. So there was suddenly, as Nadine correctly said, we were faced with this impossible situation that nobody really had a risk mitigation plan for. Nobody planned for a global pandemic. So for us, you know, our culture within the team has always been lean mentality, right? I mean, we have always followed the lean development process of really closely listening to the customer, coming back quickly and changing and quickly taking that change back to the market and letting people use it. We have never sat in a room for months and developed anything. It has always been in short iterations, listening to the customer, taking feedback, continuous feedback loop, taking it back. So this is how we've always operated, which really came in handy you know, post-COVID. So we had 3 months of March, April, and May. If you look at our financials and how we were reaching our goals, we were 60% below our total goal. And it was a little bit concerning, but the one thing everybody did, we had every week, we had full team meetings discussing, you know, what can we do and what is the big need in the market. So we knew that even though we were a virtual platform, suddenly, you know, virtual wasn't enough. It had to be truly remote. You know, virtually connecting into a classroom was very different from remote supporting remote learners with kids sitting at home. You know, we are supporting students even in elementary school. So parents were never in our equation before. So we made a lot of changes. And the first thing was we said, teachers are still figuring out what to do. So parents have suddenly taken control of their students' learning, at least for the short term. So how do we really pivot very quickly and support parents? And so within 3 weeks, we developed a full virtual career exposure summer camp and completely switched it into a consumer-focused model and marketed towards parents. We've never done consumer marketing. We've never had parent-focused solutions. And we subsidized that to like $10 per week per student so that everybody can afford it. And within 3 weeks, product, marketing, the whole team came together. And in a short period of time, there were over 4,000 students actually who participated in that 7-week summer camp, which was such a huge hit. We've never explored this direct to parent model, and that was an opportunity to do that. Similarly, we knew that schools were at this point facing this big issue of, you know, how do we do virtual classroom, you know, and they were so set in some of the traditional ways. So we also developed another brand new product extension where it was a very simple, clean, easy to use, full virtual classroom setup. And we made it available free so that we just want people, we want to support our communities, we want to support our customers, we want to give them a solution, forget about making money at this point, let's support our customers, and it's always, you're going to get that payback later. I mean, when everything sort of came, I mean, when school started coming back and everybody started figuring things out, today, in spite of the 3-month downturn, we are 20% over our year-to-date goal. And we've been able to sort of get out of that and really actually exceed our goals for the year, which I would not have imagined at the beginning of COVID, but we just put our head down, was very lean and agile, very inclusive of the team, listened to the customer. We saw where the gaps were, how the audience were changing, and were able to quickly adapt and throw some things. And we were also comfortable with the fact that some of these changes may not stick. We may not continue with this virtual classroom product that we put out there. And we needed to be comfortable with that and not overthink it, saying, do we want to put in this effort if it's just only for 3 to 6 months? No time to think, this is what our customers need right now. We're going to quickly, build something, give it to them and support them. That was our mentality through and through.
Great. Thank you, Savari. I see, Samarna, you've gone off mute.
Yes.
Does that mean you want to jump in?
Yes, please. I'd like to just, I have a bit of a different opinion, but, of course, I'll share what I agree with. So I do agree that in businesses, you should identify your passion and purpose. And I think embedding that within your business models is great. Just as an example, of course, just for the sake of understanding, I mean, we've embedded that as we scale in volume, we'll be employing more jobs. That on its own has a very strong socioeconomic impact. But my question really is, why does it take one pandemic for individuals to start caring about digital technology and sustainability? It should not be that way. And now it's just become a trend. I mean, you look at large corporates who don't even care, I'm sorry to say, but it's true, don't even care about sustainability, but are just doing it either for compliance or just because, they want to show that they are now moving towards this trend, like I say. So I personally don't feel that this is great. And I think we need to be strong consumers to identify brands that are using greenwashing tactics against us.
I have to say, as a millennial, I feel like my peers are very vocal in ensuring that the products that they buy are either sustainably sourced or fair trade. Certainly not across the board, but I feel like that's a rising mentality that folks are starting to think about and demanding that of these big businesses. Kathleen, I'd like to fold you back into the conversation. You talked about how you've moved away from the sort of custom products that you created and now to a different business model. And you were telling me offline how this helps to reduce waste and environmental costs. How do you, does Pure Béton, are you talking publicly about the waste reduction? How are you kind of talking about the environmental impact of your business model change?
Yes, of course. Well, this change is, we wanted so much, so hard for long, and the pandemic has given us a little bit of time to plan it and to think about it and to develop it. So we were not so worrying for this situation, because we have been working for 10 years and in not comfortable way. So it's kind of a business a little bit difficult to be manufacturing product by hand in the market like we have. The thing we do by not doing custom work anymore, it has a big impact on the environmental speaking, because before we were doing molds, unique molds that does wasted a lot of waste. And then with this new collection of product, we are designing and fabricating molds that can be reused a lot of time to a lot of models and sizes. And so this has a lot of improvement for us. For now, we are talking more about the product than the process. But definitely we have to tell about it to our client because it really helps, of course. Yes.
Great. Well, thank you. I have so many questions. I'm not sure where I want to start with our time remaining. I think I would love to ask Maureen, one of the questions I was thinking about as you were describing your journey. Can you talk to us more broadly about how increasing the world's exposure to African art and fashion helps to boost the market for women artisans and entrepreneurs across the continent? So broader than Moreno Designs, how does your success help to shed more light on the great things that are happening for women entrepreneurs in Africa?
Well, in today's highly globalized world, African women artisans and entrepreneurs must appreciate the value of their design and cultural ideas and understand that by promoting their unique brands on global platforms, they can become narrators of the story of African art and fashion to the world. Through what we do, we help in establishing and enhancing economic gain that propels our African artisans and bag makers as to see themselves and to be promoted as industry leaders in the global fashion sector. By what we do, African art also builds a new community of undeveloped skilled designers through what we do and other fashion entrepreneurs, a community of growing and developed designers are coming forth and promoting the sustainability of African culture through the use of recycled materials or renewable resources. What we do, it helps create jobs, alleviate poverty. It empowers women artisans and entrepreneurs. It contributes to the African continent's economy. It protects and promotes new creative innovation and African cultural property. Everything just kind of streams down the line, down to the grassroots. Once that exposure, that enhancement of African art and creativity, the promotion on global platforms, it creates an enabling environment for all the stakeholders, everyone in the value chain. And it kind of builds a cohesive system to connect manufacturers, large retail markets, top brand designs, production, sales, and distribution networks. It promotes a holistic understanding of Africa's powerhouse fashion industry, which is huge, which is massive, which is beautiful, which is engaging. It sustains and promotes the strong tradition that we love to share. The whole world needs to be able to see what Africa offers in terms of beauty, in terms of craftsmanship, in terms of authenticity of craft, in terms of our deep and rich stories and cultural heritage. Now, putting our craft on a global platform opens up that opportunity for connection, for collaboration, for appreciation, for the growth of the African economy, for the growth of the African woman, the empowerment of the African child, and just the connection and collaboration. What has happened with COVID is just that the world has opened up. Every day I'm talking to one woman from, one far place in the world. I'm having meetings with a mentor or a mentee who is sitting down at home in the UK. That strong connection and collaboration enhances growth globally, where we can share our stories, where we can share our connections, our ideas, and opportunities for growth come as a result of that global exposure and that platform, that being putting a product on the global platform opens up, not just to our business as Maureen O, but to women entrepreneurs, to women artisans. People are beginning to have such a growing interest in what is coming out from Africa, because one or two people have showcased their goods on a global platform, Maureen O being one of them.
Fantastic. At UPS, we love to talk about the statistics globally about how a women-owned business success drives to greater productivity. They hire more individuals as part of their business as it grows. They invest more back into their communities. So that's great. I'm glad to see sort of all boats rising in this aspect. I'm going to ask one last question of Samarna, and then I'd love to do a final round of closing comments. Samarna, I want to tap into this idea of engaging youth. You've talked on various platforms in how you see youth as being the driver of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. What are some of the obstacles that youth tend to face as they go about this effort, and how do you advise them to overcome those hurdles? I think it's hard sometimes. Youth feel like people don't listen to them because they're young, and you certainly are a commanding speaker, but just in general for young people.
I absolutely love this question, Susan. So thank you so much for addressing this, because I think it's something that we need to shed light upon. There are a lot of issues that we can face as youth, and I personally can vouch for, as I've been in similar situations in the past. Just like you said, we're not being heard. Our colleagues and peers are perhaps not taking us seriously just because of our age or limited experience. I promise you, this is probably the most disheartening and frustrating thing that we can possibly go through. We are a generation with a lot of responsibilities on our shoulders. Everyone keeps saying that, oh, the future generation is going to clean up the mess that the world has set for us. And in order to accelerate these UN Sustainable Development Goals, it is very imperative to ideate and collaborate, but it is not possible without this supportive ecosystem that we build for the next generation. Sustainability is also considered CSR, as I mentioned in the previous question, for a lot of large corporates, and beyond that, there is no impact whatsoever. It's used as a marketing tactic, which I touched upon. And as a generation that is so conscious about sustainability, I want to emphasize that not everyone is on the same page with it, and not everyone is as passionate about it. Very few understand it, and even fewer are willing to learn about it. At the same time, this showcases the opportunity that we have as the next generation to take this forward, embed it into these creative business models, and really showcase ourselves as entrepreneurs moving forward. Another concern that I have is that our next generation is not being a part of conversations that matter. I'm very grateful to be present here today, of course, but I'm speaking for the masses. We're not considered with regard to our decisions. We're still fighting today for inclusion and diversity in leadership positions in board of directors. How exactly are we going to have youth present in these discussions if we're still fighting for something that should have been fought for ages ago? If there's any advice that I can give to my next generation, it's to keep striving for excellence. Take individuals' feedback into consideration. By all means, that's the way you're going to improve. But if they are trying to demoralize you or showcase that they're far more superior because of their knowledge or experience, please don't listen to them and just ignore them. It's sad to say, but it is tough in the world we live in to find strong supporters. And this is why I truly believe that we need collaboration so that our children don't face similar issues. Just to quickly wrap up, of course, focus on building your profile on social media. We have this amazing tool and platform where we can showcase our voices, and please network at a higher level with individuals so they can open up doors. I cannot emphasize enough how important this is, and something that is not taught to us very early on in our days. And always remember, be bold, be strong and powerful, because no one is too small to make a difference. And just remember that.
I love that. What a great piece of advice to leave us with. I think that's a great segue into our last sort of round robin. I'm going to ask 30 seconds of each of our panelists for any final comments. And because this is our last session of the day for the SheTrades MENA program, I would love if you could give us one piece of advice for the audience, or maybe tell us your personal mantra, or your guiding principle, or even a question that you want to leave the audience with, just that they walk away from this session with something to think about. So let's, Sabari, do you want to tackle that one first?
Sure, throw me the tough questions, right? No, I mean, Samarna, you know, sort of wrapped it up fantastic. Your words are, you know, so relevant. It resonates with all of us. So appreciate your comments. So for me, one thing that I really consider my guiding principle is to be authentic, you know, and to not be afraid to really own who you are and tell your stories. And because many times women, you know, we kind of feel pressured to sort of put on an act and be someone else that we are not. And that usually does not work in your favor. So to be comfortable to talk about your failures and your weaknesses and your gaps, it is an even more powerful story to tell, you know, to share how you overcome that. It actually resonates well with people. People immediately connect with you. You know, I always share my struggles as an entrepreneur, being a mom of 2 little kids when I started the company, and suddenly you can see people's eyes light up. You know, sometimes not everybody is comfortable talking about that. You know, you always want to tell the story of how I made it, but there's been many struggles. And as women, I think we have to be comfortable owning who we are, being authentic, and telling our story as is. So I'll leave you with that.
Great, thanks, Sabari. Catherine, any final thoughts for us?
Yes, of course. Well, it's about the same as Sabari. I think that we can do business by being yourself, and you can be strong and have a firm opinion by being yourself and being a woman in business. And I think this is how it can do real and authentic. And I think that the best stories in business are the true stories. And make your life like the business life you want to live. And it's really my story. And I think this can be stories from a woman or little girls or little boy that can grow and make business with a worldwide area and exchanges by being yourself. And I think that people and customers need authenticity on these days.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Catherine. Maureen, do you want to give us 30 seconds of a final thought?
Yes, in addition to everything the lovely ladies have said, I just want to add that, yes, be intentional in everything you do. As you're intentional, be strategic, have a roadmap, invest in yourself, invest in your personal development, invest in the growth of your emotional intelligence, be yourself. Entrepreneurship, the road to sustainability, life itself is a journey and not an event. Learn to celebrate your small wins on the way to going to where you envision or you dream.
I love that. Thank you so much. I'll ask Samarna if you have any additional comments to wrap up, because I would love to give Nadine, I'd love to give you the last word. So Samarna, anything else to add on top to finalize your comments?
Sure. I actually just want to leave the audience with, one thing to think about. In the last 1 year, what is the quantifiable impact that you personally or your business has made on society and the planet? And if you can't answer my question in 10 seconds, then I truly would like to emphasize, please rethink your purpose. Integrating purpose-driven businesses with sustainability and digital technology is the only way to survive the new normal. Thank you again for the opportunity, Susan. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Nadine, for our final word.
I mean, what can I say? Simarna, Sabari, Catherine, Maureen, they pretty much summed everything up very nicely, but there's one last thing that I think we should add to all of what the ladies advised, and it is the importance of staying human, staying empathetic. Empathy, it's so important. The world is changing, everything is shifting with technology taking over our lives and how we do things, by everything from our social media profiles to how we are so worried and prioritizing success and business and the journey and the challenges that we overcome and the challenges that we are faced with. It's also so important that everybody stays true to themselves and they remain human with your team, human with the way you deal with your customers, human in your homes, human in all sorts of relationships that you have. Empathy is going to be something that is, the way I see it, it's going to be a rare commodity. And for this generation and the younger generation, those who will remain empathetic are the ones who are going to be stronger emotionally, as an emotional intelligence, as well as in business and in success. Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you, ladies. It was a pleasure sharing the panel with you. This has been a very, very interesting discussion, and I look forward to more, hopefully. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nadine. So with that, we're going to bring this panel to a close. I'd like to quickly remind our audience that if you have any comments or reactions or perspectives on what our panelists said, please do engage online on social media. Be sure to tag the Ministry of Economy, Dubai Exports, the annual investment meeting, of course, UPS, and hashtag SheTrades MENA. So thank you, everyone, again, and have a great rest of your day.
Dear attendees, if you have any questions, please feel free to post your questions on the video wall. We will share with our speakers and they will reply to you directly or through email. If you'd like to connect with our speakers, please move to the home lobby page. You will find the speakers by typing their names under Networking tab on the right hand of your screen. We welcome our audience to interact with each other on our chat wall. Please also do not forget to tag us on our social media handles with the hashtag AIMDigital.